The chandelier above her head flickered once, and Ariana Greco felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, though only one pair mattered. She didn't know his name yet. Didn't know that Don Raphael Santini never attended charity galas. Didn't know he'd walked into this glittering Rome ballroom, hunting for a ghost from his past, and found her instead, standing beneath Italian marble columns in a dress the color of midnight, looking like every answer to questions he'd never dared ask. Their eyes met across champagne and silk. Her breath caught. His world stopped. And neither of them knew that love at first sight could be the most dangerous thing of all. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ariana's fingers trembled around her champagne flute. She told herself it was the cold. The marble floors of the Palazzo Vittorio radiated winter despite the crowd's warmth. Despite the orchestra playing Vivaldi in the corner. Despite the hundreds of Rome's elite packed into the ballroom wearing diamonds that could fund small countries. But it wasn't the cold. It was him. The man across the room hadn't moved since their eyes locked. He stood perfectly still amid the chaos of conversation and movement. A dark suit fitted to broad shoulders. Black hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from the same marble as the palazzo itself. Angular. Striking. Dangerous in a way she couldn't name. Someone bumped her shoulder. The spell broke. Ariana turned away, heart hammering against her ribs. "You look like you've seen a ghost," her friend Julia whispered, appearing at her elbow with concern creasing her forehead. "I'm fine." The lie tasted bitter. "Just tired." Julia followed her gaze across the ballroom, but the man had vanished into the crowd. "This was a terrible idea. I shouldn't have dragged you here." "You didn't drag me. I needed to get out." Ariana forced a smile. 6 months since she'd fled Milan. 6 months since Marco had proven that love was just another word for control. 6 months of rebuilding herself in Rome, working at the small art gallery near Piazza Navona, learning to sleep without nightmares. She didn't need complications. Especially not the kind that came in expensive suits with eyes that saw too much. The crowd shifted and she saw him again. Closer now, talking to an older man in military dress, but his attention kept sliding toward her like a compass finding north. "That's Don Raphael Santini," Julia breathed. "Oh God, Ariana. He's looking at you." The name meant nothing. Should I know him? He owns half of Rome. Construction, shipping, real estate. And other things people don't talk about in polite company. Julia's grip tightened on her arm. "He never comes to these events." "Never. People have been trying to get him here for years." Ariana's instinct screamed at her to leave. But she was tired of running. Tired of letting fear make her decisions. She lifted her chin and met his gaze directly. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in those dark eyes. Recognition. Intent. A promise she couldn't read. Then he moved. The crowd parted for him without conscious thought, bodies shifting like water around stone. He walked with the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. From never needing to ask permission. 3 steps brought him close enough that she could see his eyes were actually brown, nearly black in the chandelier light. "You're blocking the exit," he said. His voice was low, accented with northern Italian inflection despite Julia's claims he ruled Rome. Ariana glanced behind her. The nearest exit was 20 feet away. "Then you're walking in the wrong direction." The corner of his mouth lifted. Not quite a smile. "Perhaps I am." Julia had disappeared. Smart woman. "I'm Raphael," he said, not offering his hand. Proper Italian etiquette at formal events, but she sensed it was something else. Control. He wouldn't touch her until she indicated permission. "Ariana." She kept her champagne between them like a shield. Greek name. Italian accent. "You're not from Rome." It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. "Milan. Originally. But you left." Again, not a question. He read her like text on a page. People leave places all the time. Not without reason. He shifted closer. Not threatening. Just present. He smelled like cedar and something darker. "Dance with me." Her heart kicked. "I don't dance with strangers." "We're not strangers anymore. I told you my name." That almost smile again. "And you're afraid of me." "I want to know why." The honesty caught her off guard. Most men would have lied, claimed she had nothing to fear, made promises they wouldn't keep. But Raphael simply stated the truth and waited. "I'm not afraid," she lied. "Yes, you are. But not of me." He extended his hand, palm up. An offering, not a demand. "One dance. Then I'll let you run." The words hit harder than they should have. "Let you run." As if he already knew. As if he could see the exit routes she'd mapped the moment she'd entered the ballroom. the way she kept her back to walls, the defensive set of her shoulders. She took his hand. His fingers closed around hers. Warm, callous despite the expensive suit, careful despite their strength. He led her to the dance floor where other couples swayed to a waltz she didn't recognize. When he pulled her close, his hand settled at the small of her back with a sureness that made her breath catch. They moved together, and she realized with a shock that he was an excellent dancer. Smooth, confident, leading her through the steps as if they'd done this 1,000 times before. "You're good at this," she said, needing to break the silence. "My mother insisted. She said a man who couldn't dance would never understand patience." Was she right? His dark eyes found hers. "I'm the most patient man you'll ever meet. When it matters." Something in his tone made her shiver. The song shifted into something slower. His hand spread wider at her back, pulling her incrementally closer. Not inappropriate. Just closer. "Why are you really here?" she asked. "Julia says you never attend these events." "I don't." His thumb moved against her spine, a small circle that sent heat down her vertebrae. "I came looking for someone." Jealousy stabbed through her chest, sharp and unexpected. She had no right to it. No claim on this man she'd met minutes ago. "Did you find them?" "Yes." The song ended. They stopped moving, but he didn't release her. The ballroom continued around them, other couples dancing, conversation flowing like wine. But in their small bubble, the world held its breath. "I should go," Ariana whispered. She meant it. Every instinct told her to run from whatever this was, this pull she felt toward a man whose name meant power and probably danger. "You should," Raphael agreed. But his hand remained at her back. "Will you?" She looked up at him, at the sharp planes of his face, the dark intensity of his eyes. Saw something there that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. Want. But more than that. Recognition. As if he'd been searching for her long before tonight. "I don't know," she admitted. His expression softened imperceptibly. "Honest. I like that." He released her finally, stepping back with visible reluctance. "Go home, Ariana from Milan. Get some sleep. But remember something." "What?" "I'm not Marco." The blood drained from her face. She stumbled back. "How do you?" But he was already walking away, disappearing into the crowd with the same fluid grace he'd used to approach. Leaving her standing alone on the dance floor with her heart racing and questions burning through her mind. How did he know about Marco? What else did he know? And why did the thought of Raphael Santini knowing her secrets feel less like violation and more like relief? Later that night, Ariana lay awake in her small apartment near Trastevere, staring at the cracked ceiling and replaying every moment. Every word. The way Raphael's hand had felt at her back. The careful control in his touch. The promise in his eyes. She reached for her phone and typed his name into the search bar. The results made her blood run cold. Raphael Santini, 34. CEO of Santini International. Net worth in the billions. Connections to everyone who mattered in Italy and half of Europe. Rumors of other business ventures, the kind whispered about but never proven. A man who made politicians nervous and criminals disappear. And he knew about Marco. She should have been terrified. Should have packed her bags and fled Rome the way she'd fled Milan. But when she finally fell asleep, it was with Raphael's voice in her head. "I'm not Marco." And the strangest, most dangerous part was that she believed him. The next morning arrived gray and cold. Ariana opened the gallery at 9, same as always. The space was small but beautiful, tucked between a bookstore and a cafe on a cobblestone street that tourists rarely found. Renaissance sketches lined the walls alongside modern Italian artists. Her boss, Signora Rossi, trusted her to run things most days. She was cataloging a new shipment when the bell above the door chimed. "We don't open for another hour," she called without looking up. "I don't need an hour." Raphael's voice slid through the quiet gallery like smoke. Her hands froze on the inventory sheet. Slowly, she turned. He stood just inside the door, wearing charcoal today, no tie, his shirt open at the collar. Less formal than last night, but somehow more dangerous. Morning light from the windows cut across his face, highlighting the sharp line of his jaw, the intensity in his eyes that hadn't dimmed. "How did you find me?" Her voice came steadier than expected. "You think I'd let you walk away without knowing where to find you again?" He moved deeper into the gallery, examining a painting without really seeing it. "I wanted to apologize." That surprised her. "For what?" "Scaring you last night. Mentioning Marco." He turned to face her fully. "I overstepped. How do you know about him?" The question came sharper than intended. Did you investigate me? Yes. No hesitation. No excuse. Just honesty that hit like a punch. Anger flared hot in her chest. You had no right. None at all, he agreed, closing the distance between them with 3 measured steps. But I don't apologize for protecting what's mine. The words hung between them. Ariana's breath caught. I'm not yours. Not yet. His eyes burned into hers. But you will be. The sheer arrogance should have infuriated her. Should have sent her running. Instead, heat pooled low in her stomach, her body responding to the promise in his voice before her mind could catch up. That's insane, she whispered. We met last night. I know. He reached out slowly, giving her time to retreat, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers grazed her cheek, and she felt that small touch everywhere. I knew the moment I saw you. You think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But I won't lie to you, Ariana. Not ever. She should step back. Should demand he leave. Should do anything except stand there trembling under the weight of his attention. What do you want from me? Her voice barely worked. Everything. Simple. Direct. Terrifying. But I'll start with coffee. Have breakfast with me. I'm working. Then dinner. Or lunch tomorrow. Or I'll come back every morning until you say yes. No threat in his tone. Just patience. Just certainty. I told you. I'm patient when it matters. And I matter? She didn't know why she asked. Didn't know if she wanted the answer. Raphael's hand cupped her jaw, his thumb brushing her lower lip with devastating gentleness. More than you can possibly understand. More than I can explain with words you'd believe. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her forehead. Let me show you instead. The bell chimed again. Signora Rossi entered carrying pastries and coffee, then stopped short when she saw them. Her eyes went wide, her gaze darting between Ariana and Raphael with something close to shock. Don Santini, she breathed. I didn't know, we weren't expecting. Signora Rossi. Raphael straightened, his hand falling from Ariana's face. Forgive the intrusion. I was just leaving. He turned back to Ariana, his expression softening. Dinner. Tomorrow night. I'll pick you up at 7. It wasn't a question, but somehow it was. He was giving her the choice even as his eyes pleaded for the answer he wanted. I don't know where you live, Ariana said. It was an agreement. Not quite, but it wasn't refusal either. The smile that broke across his face transformed him. Made him younger. Almost vulnerable. I'll send a car. And Ariana. Yes. We're something comfortable. We're not going anywhere you need to pretend. Then he was gone, leaving behind the scent of cedar and the echo of impossible promises. Signora Rossi set down her pastries with shaking hands. Madonna Santa. Do you know who that was? Raphael Santini. Ariana's voice sounded distant to her own ears. He doesn't do this. The older woman pressed a hand to her chest. The Don doesn't chase women. Doesn't visit galleries. Doesn't. She broke off, shaking her head. Be careful, child. Men like that are dangerous. I know, Ariana whispered. But dangerous didn't feel like the right word. Inevitable, maybe. Inescapable. Like standing on train tracks watching the light approach and being unable to move, unable to want to move, even knowing the collision would destroy everything. That night, alone in her apartment, Ariana found the business card slipped into her coat pocket. Heavy black cardstock with silver lettering. Raphael's name. A phone number. Nothing else. She turned it over. On the back, written in strong, precise handwriting. I meant what I said. All of it. Her fingers trembled as she traced the words. This was insane. She barely knew him. He'd investigated her without permission, showed up at her work, made impossible claims about knowing she was his the moment they met. Every rational part of her screamed to throw the card away. Block whatever car he sent tomorrow. Forget Raphael Santini existed. But when she climbed into bed, she kept the card on her nightstand. And when she dreamed, it was of dark eyes and careful hands, and a voice promising everything she'd been too afraid to want. The next evening arrived too quickly, and not fast enough. Ariana changed outfits 4 times before settling on dark jeans and a soft cream sweater. Comfortable, like he'd said. But the way the sweater clung to her curves made her feel anything but casual. The car arrived at precisely 7. Sleek and black with a driver who opened her door without a word. She slid into leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly rent and tried not to fidget. They drove through Rome as twilight painted the ancient city in shades of amber and shadow. Past the Colosseum lit gold against the darkening sky. through narrow streets where laundry hung from Renaissance balconies. Eventually out of the city center toward the hills. The car stopped at a villa that took her breath away. Stone and glass nestled into the hillside, modern architecture blending with classical Italian design. Gardens terraced down the slope, olive trees and roses catching the last light. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see the glow of warm lighting inside. Raphael met her at the door. He'd changed too. Dark jeans like hers, a black sweater pushed up to his elbows revealing strong forearms. More relaxed than she'd seen him, but somehow the casual clothes made him more imposing. More real. "You came," he said, and she heard relief beneath the words. "You sent a very persuasive car." That almost smile. The car had nothing to do with it. He was right. She'd come because some part of her needed to understand this pull between them. Needed to know if it was real or if loneliness and trauma had made her susceptible to the first man who showed interest. But standing in his doorway with his dark eyes searching her face, she knew it wasn't that simple. Whatever this was, it was specific. Particular. About him and her, and something neither of them could name yet. "Come inside," Raphael said, stepping back. "I promised you dinner." The villa's interior stole what remained of her breath. Vaulted ceilings with exposed beams. Art on every wall. Not just expensive but meaningful, pieces chosen with care rather than for investment. Books everywhere. A grand piano in one corner. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Rome spread below them like a carpet of lights. "You live here alone?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. "Yes." He led her through to the kitchen where something savory made her stomach growl. "Does that surprise you? I thought men like you had staff. Cooks and maids and... I have staff at my offices. Security at the gates. But my home is mine." He pulled out a chair at the kitchen island for her. "I need spaces that are just for me. Now just for us." The casual way he said it, "just for us," made her pulse jump. She sat, watching as he moved around the kitchen with surprising ease. He cooked. Actually cooked, not heated something a chef had prepared. "Pasta alla vongole," he said, stirring something fragrant on the stove. "My grandmother's recipe. She said you could tell everything about a man by how he treated clams. Something about patience and respect for small things. Your grandmother sounds wise. She was fierce." His expression softened with memory. "She died 5 years ago, but I still hear her voice sometimes. Usually when I'm about to do something stupid." "Is this stupid?" Ariana asked quietly. "Whatever this is?" Raphael turned to face her, his expression serious. "Probably. I don't do relationships, Ariana. I don't date. I don't bring women to my home. I sure as hell don't investigate their ex-boyfriends and show up at their workplace like some obsessed." He broke off, jaw tightening. "Yes. This is probably very stupid." "Then why?" He set down the wooden spoon and moved around the island until he stood close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "Because when I saw you at that gala, something in my chest cracked open. Because I've spent 34 years building walls, and you walk through them like they were paper. Because I know what men like Marco do to women like you, and the thought of him touching you makes me want to burn down Milan brick by brick." His hands clenched at his sides, as if he was physically restraining himself from reaching for her. "So yes, this is stupid. But I've done calculated my entire life. Made smart decisions. Built an empire on cold logic and careful planning. And none of it means anything if I don't see where this goes." Ariana's heart hammered against her ribs. "You don't know me. Then let me." He did touch her then, his hands framing her face with a gentleness that contradicted every rumor she'd heard about him. "Let me know every part of you. The pieces you show the world and the ones you hide. The strength and the fear and everything between." She should pull away. Should laugh at the intensity. Should do anything except lean into his touch like a flower toward sun. "I'm broken," she whispered. "Marco, what he did, I'm not sure I know how to trust anymore." "Then don't trust me." His thumb stroked her cheekbones. "Not yet. Make me earn it. Test me. Push me away and see if I come back." "I will, Ariana. Every single time." The conviction in his voice cracked something inside her chest. She'd spent 6 months convinced she needed to heal alone. That letting anyone close was inviting disaster. But maybe healing didn't have to be solitary. Maybe strength could come from letting someone see your wounds and choosing to stay. "I want to believe you," she breathed. "That's enough." Raphael pressed his forehead to hers, his eyes closing. "That's more than enough for now." They stood like that, breathing the same air, until the timer on the stove chimed. He released her slowly, reluctance in every movement, and returned to cooking. Dinner was perfect. The pasta, a crisp white wine, conversation that flowed easier than it should have. He asked about her work at the gallery, her childhood in Milan, her dreams before Marco had made her afraid to dream. And he listened, truly listened, in a way that made every word feel important. She asked about his business, carefully avoiding the rumors Julia had mentioned. He answered with surprising candor, explaining the construction projects rebuilding Rome's infrastructure, the shipping routes that connected Italy to the world. But he didn't mention the darker whispers. And she didn't ask. Not yet. After dinner, he led her to the terrace. Rome glittered below them, ancient and eternal. The December air bit cold, but he draped his jacket around her shoulders without asking, and it smelled like him. I need to tell you something, Raphael said, his voice low. About Marco. Her body tensed instinctively. I don't want to talk about him. You need to hear this. He turned her to face him, his hands on her shoulders, his expression grave. He's in Rome. The world tilted. Ariana grabbed the terrace railing for support. What? No. He doesn't know I'm here. He couldn't. He knows. He's been looking for you for 3 months. Raphael's grip tightened, anchoring her. My people have been watching him since I found out. He hasn't gotten close. He won't get close. But you need to know he's here. Terror clawed up her throat. Marco. In Rome. Looking for her. 6 months of peace shattered in an instant. Why are you telling me this? Because I won't lie to you. Not about your safety. Not about anything. Raphael pulled her closer, his body a wall between her and the world. And because I'm going to handle it. Handle it how? Her voice cracked. However I need to. His expression darkened, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. He won't touch you again, Ariana. I promise you that. You can't promise that. You don't know what he's capable of. And he doesn't know what I'm capable of. Raphael's voice dropped to something cold and absolute. I've spent 20 years learning how to protect what's mine. Marco is a small, cruel man who uses his fists to feel powerful. I am many things, but I am not small. And I do not lose. The confidence should have seemed arrogant. Instead, it felt like safety. Like for the first time since she'd fled Milan, someone stood between her and the nightmare. Why? She whispered. Why do you care this much? We barely know each other. Raphael's hands moved to frame her face, his touch achingly gentle despite the steel in his voice. I told you. I knew the moment I saw you. I know it sounds insane. I know you have no reason to believe me. But I see you, Ariana. Not the version of yourself you show to survive. I see the woman you were before he broke you. And I see the woman you're becoming now that you're free. And I would burn down the world before I let anyone hurt you again. A tear slipped down her cheek. He caught it with his thumb. Let me protect you, he said softly. Let me prove I'm not him. Let me show you what it feels like to be cherished instead of controlled. Every rational thought told her to run. This was too much too fast. He was too intense, too powerful, too willing to use that power in ways she didn't fully understand. Getting involved with Raphael Santini was dangerous. But staying alone was its own kind of danger. And maybe, just maybe, she was tired of being afraid. Okay, she breathed. His eyes flared. Okay, show me. Prove it. Her hands fisted in his sweater, anchoring herself to him. But Raphael? If you hurt me, if you try to control me like he did, you'll leave. As you should. As you must. He covered her hands with his. I'm asking you to trust me, but I'm not asking you to be stupid. Keep your guard up. Keep your exits planned. Run the first time I give you real reason to doubt me. The honesty undid her. He wasn't promising perfection. Wasn't claiming he'd never hurt her. He was giving her permission to protect herself even as he promised to do the same. It was the most respectful thing anyone had ever said to her. Ariana rose on her toes and kissed him. For one heartbeat, Raphael froze. Then his arms came around her, pulling her against him as he deepened the kiss with a hunger that stole her breath. His mouth was hot and demanding and somehow still careful, one hand tangled in her hair while the other pressed her closer. She melted into him, 6 months of loneliness and fear dissolving under the onslaught of sensation. He tasted like wine and promises. Felt like safety and danger wrapped together. Kissed her like she was precious and profane in equal measure. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. I need to take you home, he said roughly. Before I do something we're not ready for. What if I want you to? The words escaped before she could stop them. His grip tightened. You're not ready. Neither am I. When we cross that line, Ariana, there's no going back. Not for me. I need you to be sure. There's no going back. Not for me. I need you to be sure. The restraint cost him. She could feel it in the tension of his body, the way his hands shook slightly against her. But he meant it. He would wait, would give her time, even though every line of him screamed possession. Take me home, she whispered. The drive back felt eternal and instant. His hand found hers in the back seat, fingers intertwined, neither speaking. When the car stopped outside her building, Raphael walked her to the door. I'll have security watching your building, he said. You won't see them, but they'll be there. Until Marco is handled. She should have protested. Should have claimed she didn't need protection. But fear still lived in her bones, and Raphael's careful planning felt like care instead of control. Thank you, she said simply. He kissed her forehead. Dinner again? Friday. Yes. No hesitation this time. His smile could have lit the dark Roman streets. Sleep well, beautiful girl. Dream of me. She did. Days passed like honey, slow and sweet. Raphael called every morning and night. Sent flowers to the gallery, always roses, always white, always with notes that made her blush. Thinking of you. You're stronger than you know. Can't wait to see you smile again. He didn't push for more dates. Didn't demand her time. Just remained constant. Present. A steady force in her orbit that never wavered. Friday arrived. He took her to a small trattoria in Trastevere where the owner knew him by name, and the pasta was made by someone's grandmother in the back. They talked for hours. He told her about his mother, who'd died when he was young. His father, who'd built the business and taught Raphael about power and responsibility in equal measure. He died 5 years ago, Raphael said quietly. Same year as my grandmother. I think she was waiting for him on the other side. They were like that. Connected. Like soulmates. Ariana asked. His dark eyes found hers. Exactly like that. The word hung between them, heavy with implication. The following week, he took her to a private showing at the Borghese Gallery. Guards opened doors that were closed to the public. They walked through rooms of Bernini and Caravaggio with only each other for company. How did you arrange this? She whispered, awed by the marble and paint surrounding them. I make large donations. They tolerate my eccentricities. He smiled. And I wanted to give you something beautiful. You spend all day surrounded by art, but you never get to just enjoy it. He'd noticed. Of course he had. Raphael noticed everything. 2 weeks became 3. He took her to his villa again and again. They cooked together, his hands guiding hers through his grandmother's recipes. Sat on the terrace drinking wine while Rome sparkled below. Talked until dawn about everything and nothing. He kissed her goodnight every time. Deep, consuming kisses that left her aching. But he never pushed for more. Never made her feel rushed. Instead, he showed her patience. Showed her that desire didn't have to mean demand. That a man could want her desperately and still respect her boundaries absolutely. She was falling for him. Terrifyingly, completely, irrevocably falling. And then, on a cold January evening, everything changed. Ariana was closing the gallery when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello. Hello, Ariana. Marco's voice slithered through the speaker, familiar and horrible. Did you miss me? Her blood turned to ice. How did you get this number? Her voice barely worked. I've always known where you were, amore. Did you really think you could hide from me? His laugh made her skin crawl. We need to talk. About us. About how you left without saying goodbye. There is no us. There never was. Leave me alone, Marco. I don't think so. You belong to me. You always have. And I'm tired of waiting for you to remember. His voice hardened. I'm outside your building right now. Come down. Let's talk like adults. Terror flooded her system. She looked toward the gallery's front windows. The street was dark, shadows pooling between streetlights. If you come near me, I'll call the police. And tell them what? That your ex-boyfriend wants to talk? They'll laugh at you, just like they did in Milan. His voice dropped to something uglier. Come down, Ariana. Or I'll come up. Your choice. The line went dead. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the phone. Marco was outside. Right outside. And the police hadn't helped before. Hadn't believed her when she'd shown them bruises. Had told her it was a domestic matter. She was alone. No, she wasn't. Her fingers found Raphael's number. He answered on the first ring. Ariana? What's wrong? He heard it immediately. The fear in her breathing. Marco called. He's outside my building. He says, her voice broke. Raphael, I'm scared. Where are you exactly? His voice went cold and controlled. She heard movement in the background, doors slamming, an engine starting. The gallery. I closed late. I'm alone. Lock the doors. Stay away from the windows. I'm 10 minutes away. The sound of tires squealing. Ariana, listen to me. He will not touch you. Do you understand? Not tonight. Not ever again. Okay. She locked the gallery door with trembling hands. Okay. Stay on the phone with me. Tell me about your day. Anything. I just need to hear your voice. She talked. Nonsense mostly. About a painting that had come in. About Signora Rossi's gossip. Her voice shook, but having Raphael on the line kept the panic at bay. Headlights flooded the street. Multiple cars. Raphael's sleek black vehicle followed by 2 others. He emerged like vengeance in a suit, his expression carved from stone. 4 men appeared from the other cars. Large. Armed. Moving with military precision. Raphael's eyes found her through the gallery window. Even from here, she saw the promise in them. The absolute certainty that nothing would hurt her. He spoke briefly to his men, gesturing toward the shadows where Marco presumably waited. Then he crossed to the gallery door. She unlocked it with shaking hands. Raphael pulled her into his arms, one hand cradling her head against his chest. His heart thundered under her ear. You're safe, he murmured into her hair. I have you. He's out there. Not for long. He pulled back, his hands framing her face. Stay here. My men will guard the door. I need to have a conversation with Marco. Do you understand what I'm saying? She did. The darkness in his eyes made it clear. This wouldn't be a polite conversation. This would be Raphael Santini reminding Marco who held the power in Rome. Don't hurt him, she whispered, surprising herself. Raphael's expression softened. I won't. But he needs to understand that you're protected. That touching you means facing consequences he can't imagine. I need him to be afraid, Ariana. Afraid enough to leave Italy and never look back. And if he doesn't, his jaw tightened. Then I'll make that decision for him. He kissed her forehead and turned toward the door. She caught his arm. Raphael, don't become like him. Don't let him make you into something you're not. His eyes burned into hers. I've always been what I am. You're just seeing it now. The question is whether you can accept it. Then he was gone, striding into the Roman night with his men flanking him like shadows. Ariana pressed against the gallery window, watching. 2 of Raphael's men remained by the door, their presence both comforting and terrifying. What had she gotten into? Who was Raphael really? And how much darkness lived beneath his careful control? Movement in the shadows across the street. Raphael approached a figure she recognized even at a distance. Marco. Smaller than she remembered. Less imposing with Raphael towering over him. She couldn't hear the words. Could only watch as Raphael spoke, his body language utterly controlled. Marco tried to step around him once. Raphael's hand shot out, gripping Marco's shoulder with enough force that even from here, she saw Marco flinch. More words. Raphael leaned closer, his face inches from Marco's. Whatever he said made Marco go rigid. Then Raphael released him with a small push that sent Marco stumbling back. Marco looked toward the gallery. Even in the dark, she felt his hatred. His impotent rage. At being outmatched. Raphael said something else, and Marco's attention snapped back to him. Then Raphael pulled something from his jacket. Showed it to Marco. Even from here, she saw Marco's face drain of color. He took a step back. Another. Raphael advanced, still talking, still completely in control. Finally, Marco turned and ran. Actually ran, disappearing into the Roman night like the coward he was. Raphael stood watching until Marco vanished from sight. Then his shoulders dropped, tension draining away. He spoke briefly to his men before returning to the gallery. When he entered, his expression was carefully neutral. He's gone. He won't come back. What did you say to him? She needed to know. The truth. That you're under my protection. That if he comes near you again, he'll disappear. That Rome has deep history and even deeper foundations, and bodies have been hidden in both for centuries. His voice held no emotion. Just fact. I also showed him documentation of every crime he's committed in the last 3 years. Assault. Fraud. Tax evasion. Enough to put him away for a decade. You investigated him. She should be angry. Should protest. But relief flooded through her instead. Thoroughly. I had the file prepared the day after I met you. Just in case. He moved closer, his hands gentle when they touched her arms. I won't apologize for protecting you. But I understand if this changes things between us. If you need time to decide whether you can be with someone who operates in shadows. Ariana looked up at this man who'd investigated her, shown up at her work, threatened her ex-boyfriend with violence and prison. This man who also cooked his grandmother's recipes, donated to art galleries, and looked at her like she was the answer to questions he'd always been afraid to ask. I don't need time, she said quietly. I need you to be honest with me. Always. About who you are and what you do. Can you promise me that? Yes. No hesitation. Always honest. Even when the truth is ugly. Then take me home. To your home. She watched understanding dawn in his eyes. I'm sure now. His hands tightened on her arms. Ariana. I've been sure for weeks. I was just afraid. But tonight proved something to me. She stepped closer, eliminating the space between them. You could have hurt him. Could have had your men break bones or worse. But you showed restraint. You protected me without becoming a monster. That's who you are, Raphael. Not the rumors. Not the shadows. This. Right here. He searched her face, looking for doubt. Finding none. If we do this, he said roughly, if I take you home tonight, I won't let you go. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not ever. I need you to understand what you're agreeing to. I understand. Her heart hammered, but her voice stayed steady. I'm choosing you. Choosing this. Choosing us. His control shattered. He kissed her with a desperation that stole her breath, pouring weeks of restraint and want into the press of his mouth against hers. She kissed him back with equal hunger, her hands fisting in his jacket, pulling him closer. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against hers. My car is outside. We can still wait. We should wait. Stop trying to talk me out of this. She smiled despite everything. Despite Marco and fear and all the rational reasons this was too fast. Take me home, Raphael. Make me yours like you promised. His eyes flared. You're already mine. Have been since that first moment. Then prove it. The drive to his villa passed in heated silence, his hand gripping hers like a lifeline. Inside, he led her upstairs to a bedroom that overlooked Rome. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A massive bed. Everything tasteful and expensive and utterly secondary to the man pulling her into his arms. Last chance, he murmured against her lips. Walk away now and I'll let you. Tomorrow I won't be strong enough. In answer, she kissed him. He groaned and lifted her, her legs wrapping around his waist as he carried her to the bed. His hands were everywhere, her hair, her face, sliding under her sweater to find bare skin. She gasped at the contact, at the heat of his palms against her ribs. You're so beautiful, he breathed, pulling back to look at her. So strong. So perfect. I'm not perfect. You are to me. He kissed her neck, her collarbone, working his way down as clothing disappeared piece by piece. Every scar. Every fear. Every broken piece that you think makes you less. It all makes you exactly who you are. And you are everything. Tears pricked her eyes. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming tenderness in his touch. The way he worshipped her body like something sacred. The way he made her feel cherished and desired in equal measure. They came together slowly, carefully, Raphael watching her face for any sign of fear or pain. But there was none. Only pleasure. Only rightness. Only the feeling of coming home to a place she'd never been before. Afterward, wrapped in his arms with her head on his chest, Ariana felt something inside her chest click into place. This was what she'd been running toward, not away from. This man. This moment. This overwhelming sense of being exactly where she belonged. I love you, Raphael said into the darkness. I know it's too soon. I know you might not feel the same yet. But I need you to know. I love you. Completely. Irrevocably. Forever. Her breath caught. She tilted her head up to find his eyes, finding them dark and vulnerable in the moonlight from the windows. I love you too, she whispered. I think I have since that first dance. His arms tightened around her. Then stay. Not just tonight. Stay with me. Move in. Let me take care of you. Raphael. I know it's fast. I know you need your independence. But Marco knows where you live. My security can't protect you as well there as they can here. His hand stroked through her hair. Stay until he leaves Italy. Then if you want your own place, I'll help you find something perfect. But for now, let me keep you safe. It made sense. Practical and protective without being controlling. He was offering her time, not demanding forever. Okay, she said. But I keep my job at the gallery. Of course. I'll have a car take you to work and pick you up. Discreet. You won't even notice. She should have protested. Should have claimed she didn't need a driver. But she was tired of pretending to be invincible. Tired of acting like Marco's threats didn't terrify her. Thank you, she whispered. Raphael kissed her forehead. Sleep, beautiful girl. You're safe now. I promise. And finally, wrapped in his arms in his fortress overlooking Rome, Ariana believed him. Morning arrived gentle and golden. Ariana woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Raphael's voice from somewhere downstairs. She pulled on his shirt from the night before and padded barefoot through his home. He stood on the terrace in pajama pants and nothing else, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. When he saw her, his expression transformed. He ended the call immediately. Good morning, he said, pulling her into his arms. Coffee, please. She burrowed into his warmth, still half asleep. He poured her a cup, made perfectly the way she liked it even though she'd never told him. He'd noticed. Of course he had. They had breakfast on the terrace. He'd already arranged for some of her things to be collected from her apartment. Had cleared space in his closet and bathroom. Made room for her in his carefully controlled life with an ease that should have been alarming but felt natural instead. I need to go to the office for a few hours, he said over croissants and fruit. But I'll have you taken to work first. Security will remain outside the gallery. You won't see them, but they'll be close. Marco really scared you, didn't he? She studied his face, seeing tension in the set of his jaw. He terrified me. Not for myself. For you. Raphael's hand found hers across the table. I've never felt fear like I did when you called last night. Never had something I couldn't bear to lose. Now I do. And that's more dangerous than any business deal or territory dispute I've ever navigated. I'm not going anywhere, she promised. I'll hold you to that. His thumb stroked her knuckles. Dinner tonight? I'll cook. You've created a monster. Now I'm never leaving if you keep feeding me. His smile was pure satisfaction. That's the plan. The weeks that followed fell into a rhythm that felt both new and eternal. Raphael's driver took her to work each morning. She'd spend her days at the gallery, losing herself in art and history and the quiet joy of her work. Security remained invisible but present. She never saw them but knew they were close. Evenings belonged to Raphael. Sometimes he cooked elaborate meals. Sometimes they ordered takeout and ate on the terrace wrapped in blankets against the winter cold. They talked about everything. His business expansion into renewable energy. Her dream of curating her own exhibition someday. Politics and art and philosophy and nothing at all. He took her to the opera. To football matches where his passion for Roma surprised and delighted her. To quiet beaches in the off-season where they walked for miles and kissed like teenagers. They made love and learned each other's bodies with a thoroughness that left them both breathless. He was careful and demanding in equal measure. She was brave and vulnerable. Together they created something that felt sacred. 3 weeks into their new normal, Julia called. Where have you been? Her friend's voice carried equal parts concern and excitement. You've disappeared. Signora Rossi says you're leaving early every day. There are rumors. I'm seeing someone, Ariana admitted. Who? Wait. Is it him? Don Santini. Yes. A long pause. Ariana. Be careful. Men like that. I know. Everyone keeps warning me. But he's not what people think. Or maybe he is, but it doesn't matter because he's good to me. I hope you're right. Julia sounded dubious. Just keep your eyes open, okay? Don't lose yourself. The warning lingered even after they hung up. Was she losing herself? She'd moved into Raphael's home. Let him provide security, arrange transportation, insert himself into every aspect of her life. But it didn't feel like losing herself. It felt like finally being herself. Like she'd spent her whole life performing normalcy and could finally stop pretending. She was pondering this when Raphael came home early, his expression tight. What's wrong? She set down the book she'd been reading. Marco left Italy this morning. He sat beside her, pulling her into his arms. My people confirmed he boarded a flight to Argentina. He won't be coming back. Relief crashed through her so completely her legs went weak. It's really over? It's over. You're safe. He pressed his face into her hair. You've been safe since I first saw you, but now it's official. She should have been happy. Should have celebrated. Instead, she felt tears burning behind her eyes. What's wrong? Raphael pulled back, concern creasing his forehead. Talk to me. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. How to be happy without waiting for it to end. How to trust this without expecting you to change. Marco started out kind too. He was perfect until he wasn't. I'm not Marco. Raphael's voice was firm but gentle. And I will tell you this every day for the rest of our lives if that's what you need. I will never hit you. Never control you. Never make you small to feel big. You want to leave? The door is there. You want space? I'll give you a whole villa. You want anything in this world? I'll get it or die trying. I just want you. The words came from somewhere deep and true. That's what scares me. I want you so much it terrifies me. His hands framed her face, thumbs wiping away tears she hadn't realized were falling. Then we'll be terrified together. Because I want you just as much. More. Enough that it keeps me awake at night wondering how I survived before you. What if I disappoint you? Impossible. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. You could never disappoint me. You could leave tomorrow and I'd spend the rest of my life grateful for the time we had. But I'm greedy, Ariana. I don't want just this. I want forever. Forever is a long time. Not nearly long enough. His eyes burned into hers. Marry me. Her breath stopped. What? Marry me. Not today. Not tomorrow. Whenever you're ready. But know that's where this is going. Know that I'm not playing or passing time. I want you as my wife. I want your name next to mine. I want to wake up 50 years from now and still be learning new things about you. That's insane, she breathed. We've known each other 2 months. I've known you my whole life. I just didn't meet you until December. He kissed her softly. Think about it. No pressure. No timeline. Just know that's what I want. What I've wanted since that first dance. Ariana looked at this man who'd stormed into her life like winter thunder. This man who'd protected her, cherished her, given her space to heal while showing her what love could be. This man who saw all her broken pieces and called them beautiful. And she realized something terrifying and wonderful. She didn't need to think about it. Yes, she whispered. Raphael froze. Yes, yes. I'll marry you. Whenever you want. Tomorrow or next year, or when we're old and gray. Yes. The smile that broke across his face was like sunrise. He kissed her with a desperation that spoke of relief and joy and promises finally made real. When they broke apart, both laughing and crying, he pressed his forehead to hers. I love you, he breathed. God, I love you so much. I love you too. Even though you're insane. Even though this is fast and impulsive and probably foolish. Probably, he agreed, grinning. But when have you ever played it safe? She thought of fleeing Milan. Of rebuilding in Rome. Of walking into a gala and meeting a stranger's eyes across a crowded ballroom. Of every brave, foolish choice that had led her here. Never, she said. I've never played it safe. Then marry me and we'll be reckless together. They made love on the couch with Rome glittering beyond the windows. Slow and sweet and full of promises. Afterward, Raphael retrieved a box from somewhere in his study. I bought this 3 weeks ago, he admitted, opening it to reveal a ring. Simple. Elegant. A diamond that caught the light like captured stars. I've been carrying it around like a fool, waiting for the perfect moment. Turns out the perfect moment is just whenever I'm with you. He slid it onto her finger. Perfect fit. Of course it was. How did you know my size? She asked, admiring the way the diamond looked on her hand. I know everything about you. His smile turned wicked. Including that you hate the scent of lavender, that you chew your bottom lip when you're thinking, and that you have a secret weakness for terrible reality television that you think I don't know about. You've been spying on me. Obsessively. He kissed her knuckles right above the ring. I told you. I'm not good at half measures. When I love completely. Good, she whispered. Because I don't want half of you. I want everything. You have it. You've always had it. They planned a small wedding. Neither wanted spectacle. Just something intimate and real. But when Ariana mentioned it to Signora Rossi, word spread through their circles like wildfire. Don Raphael Santini was getting married. To the girl from the gallery. The girl nobody knew. The one he'd been seen with at operas and football matches. Driving through Rome like he didn't have an empire to run. People had opinions. Some kind. Most skeptical. But Raphael ignored them all. Let them talk, he said when she worried about the gossip. They talked when I was alone, and they'll talk now that I'm happy. The only opinion that matters is yours. They married on a cold March morning in a small chapel overlooking the city. Julia served as maid of honor, still wary but warming to Raphael's obvious devotion. His business partner, Antonio, stood as best man, grinning at Raphael's barely contained joy. Ariana wore cream silk. Raphael wore black. And when the priest pronounced them married, his kiss tasted like triumph and promise and coming home. The reception was larger than planned. Apparently, people didn't refuse invitations from Raphael Santini. But even surrounded by Rome's elite, Raphael only had eyes for her. They danced to the same Vivaldi piece that had played at the gala. Full circle, beginning and ending in the same breath. Happy, he murmured against her ear. Terrified, she admitted. And happier than I thought possible. Good. Terror keeps you sharp. Happiness keeps you soft. He pulled back to look at her, his expression serious. I meant what I said. About forever. About choosing you every day. About being the man you deserve. You already are. I'll try to be better anyway. They honeymooned in Lake Como. A villa with a private beach and mountains reflected in water like glass. They didn't leave for a week. Made love and talked and slept tangled together like they could merge into one being if they stayed close enough. On their last day, lying in bed watching sunrise paint the water gold, Raphael's hand splayed across her still flat stomach. I want this, he said quietly. Someday. When you're ready. A family. Children who have your eyes and your strength. Ariana covered his hand with hers. Someday soon, maybe. After I finish my next project at the gallery. After we've had some time to just be us. Whenever you want. He kissed her temple. I'm patient, remember? 3 months later, Ariana stood in their bathroom staring at 2 pink lines. Pregnant. Terror and joy warred in her chest. Too soon. Too fast. They'd only been married 4 months. She had so much she wanted to do. The exhibition she was planning. The dreams she was finally brave enough to chase. But underneath the fear lived something else. Excitement. Wonder. The image of a child with Raphael's dark eyes and her stubborn chin. She found him in his study, working through contracts with the focused intensity she'd come to love. He looked up when she entered, his expression immediately concerned. What's wrong? I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air. Raphael's face went through a dozen emotions too fast to track. Shock. Fear. Then joy so bright it took her breath. You're sure? His voice cracked. 3 tests sure. He was around the desk in an instant, lifting her into his arms and spinning her while she laughed and demanded he put her down. When her feet touched floor again, his hands framed her face with a gentleness that made her eyes sting. Are you happy? He asked. Truly. I'm terrified, she admitted. And completely, overwhelmingly happy. Is that possible? With you? Everything is possible. He kissed her softly. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, she repeated, the reality settling in her chest like sunlight. Oh God, we're having a baby. And it's going to be perfect. Because it's ours. His hand slid to her stomach, reverent. Thank you. For choosing me. For trusting me. For giving me this. Thank you for finding me, she whispered. For seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Pregnancy transformed everything and nothing. Ariana continued working at the gallery, her exhibition coming together piece by piece. Raphael became simultaneously more protective and more careful not to smother her. He installed safety features throughout the villa she didn't think they needed, but allowed because his concern was so obviously rooted in love rather than control. When she was 6 months along, obviously pregnant and glowing, a journalist approached her outside the gallery. Signora Santini, is it true that you were with your ex-boyfriend when you met your husband? The woman's smile was predatory. Sources say Don Santini had him, removed from Italy. Care to comment? Raphael's security moved her away before she could respond. But that night, lying in bed, she thought about the question. Did you threaten to kill Marco? She asked Raphael directly. He was quiet for a long moment. Yes. Would you have done it? Actually done it? If he'd touched you again? Without hesitation. His hand found hers in the darkness. Does that scare you? It should. She rolled to face him. But I think about that night. About how he made me feel small and helpless. About all the nights before in Milan when he did worse. And I can't regret that you stopped him. That you showed him he'd never hurt me again. I'm not a good man, Ariana. Not in the way people mean it. No, she agreed. But you're good to me. Good for me. And maybe that's all that matters. He pulled her close, his hand protective over the swell of their child. I love you. Both of you. More than power or money or anything I've built. You're my real empire. She fell asleep thinking about empires built on love instead of fear. About how sometimes the most dangerous men made the safest harbors. About how she'd walked into a ballroom looking for nothing and found everything. Their daughter was born on a warm September evening. Lucia Santini entered the world screaming, tiny and perfect, with her father's dark hair and her mother's determined chin. Raphael cried when he held her, actual tears streaming down his face as he cradled their daughter like she was made of spun glass and starlight. "She's perfect," he whispered. "She's absolutely perfect. Just like her father said she'd be," Ariana said, exhausted and euphoric and more in love than she'd thought possible. He sat beside her hospital bed, their daughter sleeping in his arms, and looked at Ariana with eyes full of wonder. "Do you remember that first night? When I told you I knew the moment I saw you. I remember thinking you were insane. I was. I am." He smiled. "But I was also right. You were mine from that first glance. And now we have this. A family. A future. Everything I never let myself want because I was afraid I didn't deserve it." "You deserve this," Ariana said firmly. "You deserve love and happiness and a daughter who will absolutely wrap you around her tiny finger." "Already done." He looked down at Lucia, his expression soft in a way that still surprised her. This powerful man reduced to helpless devotion by 10 pounds of infant. "I'm going to give her everything." "I know. But Raphael." "Yes, amore. Leave some room for her to want things too. Don't give her everything before she knows what she wants." He considered this. "You're right. As always." He lifted Lucia carefully and laid her in Ariana's arms. "You'll keep me honest. Keep me grounded. Keep me human. That's my job. Being your conscience and your home. Best job in the world." They stayed in that hospital room as evening turned to night, the three of them cocooned in the soft lighting and hushed voices that marked new beginnings. Rome continued beyond the windows, ancient and eternal. But in that room, the only thing that mattered was the family they'd created from nothing but a glance across a crowded ballroom and a stubborn refusal to let fear win. Years would bring challenges. Business pressures. Rival families testing Raphael's control. The normal chaos of raising a strong-willed daughter who inherited both her parents' stubbornness. A son 2 years later who looked exactly like his mother and followed his father everywhere like a shadow. But through it all, the foundation remained. Raphael's steady devotion. Ariana's quiet strength. The way they chose each other every morning and every night. The way love at first sight had grown into something deeper than obsession, more lasting than passion. On their 10th anniversary, Raphael took her back to the Palazzo Vittorio where they'd met. The same ballroom. The same Vivaldi playing. But everything was different. "Do you remember that night?" he asked, pulling her into a dance. "I remember being terrified. Thinking you were dangerous." "I am dangerous." His eyes gleamed. "Just not to you." "Never to me," she agreed. She thought of the woman she'd been that night. Broken. Running. Afraid to trust. "Thank you for seeing past what Marco made me. For seeing who I could be. You did that yourself. I just provided a safe space to become it." He pulled her closer. "And thank you for taking a chance on a man who fell in love at first sight and never looked back." "Best risk I ever took," she whispered. Around them, Rome's elite danced and drank and gossiped. But Raphael and Ariana existed in their own world, the way they had from that first moment. Two people who'd found each other against impossible odds and built something real from the ashes of their pasts. Love at first sight wasn't supposed to work. Wasn't supposed to last. Was supposed to be the stuff of fairy tales and fantasies. But sometimes, rarely, impossibly, it did. Sometimes the most dangerous thing was exactly what you needed to feel safe. Sometimes the fastest path was the right one. Sometimes one glance across a crowded room could change 2 lives forever. And sometimes, if you were brave enough to leap, patient enough to wait, and strong enough to fight for it, love at first sight became love for a lifetime. Raphael kissed her as the song ended, soft and sure and full of promises kept. "Forever," he whispered against her lips. "Forever," Ariana promised. And meant it with every breath.